Now, the great backtrack continues gathering steam as governments, lockdown enthusiasts and vaccine pushers sneakily try to save face by distancing themselves from the COVID tyranny of the past 2 years. However, there are too many decent people in this world to simply allow these gaslighters and cretins to slip off into obscurity. So 2 Brits living in Canada, Carl Harrison and Sean Rickard, are currently taking COVID authoritarian Justin Trudeau to court over his ghastly vaccine mandate that banned unjabbed citizens from public transport and even leaving the country. Like thousands of others, the pair were unable to fly back to Britain to visit ailing parents because of Trudeau's discriminatory rules. Sean raised £80,000 online to launch a legal action against Trudeau's out-of-control government before Carl teamed up to bring a $120,000 freedom-fighting lawsuit. Sean and Carl found not one person in Trudeau's 20-strong COVID recovery group panel that made the communist-style rules had any formal education in epidemiology, medicine or public health. Next month, a judge will decide whether to pursue the case, but regardless of their decision, Trudeau's political games with Canadian lives have been well and truly exposed. And I'm delighted to be joined now by the liberty-loving Brits themselves, Sean Rickard and Carl Harrison, plus star columnist for Canada's National Post newspaper, Rupa Subramania. Now, Rupa, you broke this story of British heroism to the world. How significant is this action?
Well, thanks, Dan, for having me on the show. I broke the story for Barry Wise's Common Sense on August 2nd.
She's amazing.
And she is amazing. And the Trudeau government always claimed that COVID-19 policies were based on the science and the evidence. But thanks to the civil suit brought by Carl and Sean, we've seen the inside of one of their key mandates. This is the vaccine mandate for travel, which proved to be destructive and prevented millions of Canadians from traveling within the country or to go overseas to visit sick relatives. And so I went over hundreds of pages of testimony and cross-examination, and it becomes crystal clear that the mandates were going to happen regardless, and the bureaucrats had to scramble to find some kind of a scientific rationale for which they weren't able to do even just a few days before the mandates kicked in. I want to tell your listeners and your viewers that why did Trudeau do this? That Trudeau was in a minority in the House of Commons, having lost his big majority because of a series of corruption and cronyism scams back in 2019. He was desperate to regain it, and vaccine mandates proved to be the perfect wedge issue. And why for travel? Well, one crucial reason is that it's the only sector apart from from federal workplaces which comes under the federal government's powers. In other words, this was the only place where Trudeau could flex his muscles and impose a vaccine mandates, and that's what he did. And the rest was really trying to retroactively provide some kind of a rationale which wasn't there. And that is what happened. And to sum it up.
No, it was a fascinating revelation. Now, look, Sean and Carl, what heroes you are. Sean, you were actually strangers, weren't you, before this happened? But you're now both flying the flag for Britain abroad. Why were you prepared to put yourself on the line in order to do this?
Because nobody else was. Nobody else was doing anything. The politicians laid silent. And what was happening was very egregious and tyrannical in my mind. And the fact that none of the politicians were standing up to it and pushing back, it worried us. And the fact that we weren't able to leave our own country, literally by law, we could not leave Canada under this mandate, which is, to me, it resembles something like North Korea or Cuba. Right, it's not what you would expect in a democratic country like Canada. So I just felt compelled and decided to start reaching out to some people, and was eventually put in touch with our lawyer Sam. We had a quick conversation and got the ball rolling very quickly, literally that same day, and got a fundraiser going. And the rest is history. We started running it through social media. That's where I met Carl, through Twitter. We had a few conversations back and forth, and eventually decided to have a Zoom meeting with Sam, and we joined forces, and we've been working together ever since. And thanks to Rupa and her hard work, what we've uncovered during this process is quite shocking. And
well, it is. It's hugely shocking. And Carl Harrison, I mean, yes, obviously it's ironic, isn't it, that it took two Brits to do this. But I guess your hope, Carl, is that now the truth of the decision-making has been exposed for all to see. They shouldn't be able to do this again because, of course, I know that the mandates have been dropped, but they say it's only temporary and they could come back at any time.
Yeah, I mean, the mandates are suspended, not dropped, and that's certainly part of our case. We've got to challenge that now to the government, of course, are trying to make the decision or make their decision, make the court case moot, as it's called over here, which means that in their language there's nothing to be decided, which we don't agree with. I think, you know, I mean, I'm a Canadian citizen and a British citizen. I've been here for some time, since 2009, and there are some differences between what you're seeing there and what we've seen here. And that's a cultural issue as well as a political one. But certainly everything's been politicized. There are differences between what you've seen in the UK. Certainly in England, you didn't see the divisive mandates implemented. I know they toyed with it there, but they didn't bring them in. Whereas in Canada, right across the board, every province and the federal government brought these kind of proof of vaccine and vaccine mandates in, which were highly discriminatory and have been very, very divisive indeed in Canada, which is a great shame. Rupa's done a fantastic job because unlike, again, like the UK media, where you've got different views and different opinions, and whilst you might think some of that's been suppressed and restrained, compared to here, it hasn't. The mainstream media here hasn't covered any of the issues at all and still refuses to do so, which is very sad. But Rupa's done a great job of bringing it to public attention, and it's good that we're getting some time with you. But certainly politicised it has been. You've seen that, let's say, did in the UK, Scotland bringing in proof of vaccine, Wales doing the same, but England not doing that. So there is some, no, obviously the science has to be the same, so I don't see why the political colours should matter. But in Canada, we've seen it very intensively, and as Sean has said, we've prevented millions of Canadians, 6 to 7 million Canadians, from just engaging in normal life and doing normal things.
It is absolutely sick what happened. We can never let it happen again, and that's why we have to keep on this with a laser focus. Liberty-loving Brits, Sean Rickard and Carl Harrison, and star columnist for Canada's National Post newspaper, Rupa Subramania. Thank you all so much. But it's